Sunday in Atlanta, South Carolina, Virginia Tech. This is a fun neutral site game. Two opponents who, there's a lot that is very, I think, familiar with them with each other, and I think that they kind of are very similar spots. So, what do we like about this? What matchups are you paying attention to, TJ?
I think it's how well South Carolina's defensive line. We talked about this in an earlier episode where Will brought this up. So I'm stealing for him. So thanks for going to me first because he probably was going to say this. But yeah, I think it's South Carolina's defensive line. We talked about Dylan Stewart, but they've got so much talent that they're replacing there on that side of the ball. I would expect them to look pretty good against Virginia Tech's offensive line. I think Brent Pry's a little bit on the hot seat right now. I mean, not a little bit. I think he's squarely on the hot seat. And this would be a massive win for them if they could get it over a team that finished just outside of the playoff. But I think can they protect Kyron Drones enough, who is dynamic and who can run the ball effectively. I don't think he's the greatest passer in the ACC or anything like that. But I think anytime you have a mobile quarterback, it's accounting for that. Can Virginia Tech's offensive line protect him enough to give him enough time to make some plays, to beat them, right? And I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence that they can, but if they can, that's what will keep Virginia Tech in this game longer than they maybe should hang around.
Well, I know you are high on LaNorris Sellers. I am as well. Dual threat weapon. He's kind of looking to take that next step in consistency. And I hear what TJ's saying, and I agree that South Carolina is expected to win up front. They have superior size and depth. But what are you looking to see out of Sellers that shows you he's made that next step? He's earned all of this preseason hype.
I'm really looking to see if all the reports coming out of camp are true or if it's just their coaches, saying, look at how great our quarterback is. Is everyone saying that he's just way more confident? He's way more vocal. He's way more in command. He's got a lot more touch on some of his downfield passing. So just those kind of little things that obviously as a young player you might struggle with. If he takes that next step in those elements, I think we'll see it pretty early because I cannot get enough of South Carolina's offense, at least on paper. Nick Harbor, one of the best athletes in the world. I think this is the year he translates from just a great athlete at receiver to a great receiver. And Roswell Faison, their transfer running back, we still have no idea if he's eligible or not. But this is a guy who's coming in. He ran for over 1,000 yards last year. If he's eligible, that's a whole nother element of this offense that is unlocked. So I think with Sellers, he has so many options. It's not even like he has to do everything himself, but he could. But I mean, passing and running the ball, the Carolina offense can do all of that, and I'm just really excited to see how that unit clicks.
TJ, do you think South Carolina develops, I want to say, more of a consistent offensive identity? I feel like last year there was a lot of boom or bust plays. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I am looking for exactly what Will was just alluding to, a more sustained offense using these weapons. He mentioned Harbor, Olympic level speed, capable of those giant boom or bust plays, but, wanting to look for some consistency out of them. What do you think South Carolina's offensive identity is this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think Will kind of hit the nail on the head with when he talked about just them not being as one-dimensional. Now, last year they had Rocket Center. They had other things, but it just seemed like, they got into these funks. I mean, they won that game 17-14 against Clemson, but I think they had 10 points until there were like 5 minutes to go when they scored the go-ahead touchdown. Now, Clemson's got a good defense. Don't get me wrong. We raved about it, in the LSU Clemson preview. Same thing with Alabama. I mean, they were virtually shut out of the first half and then made the big comeback late, but they would just go through these funks of just not being able to score. And then in other games, I mean, they absolutely scored every time they had the ball against A&M, every time they had the ball against Oklahoma on the road against a really good Oklahoma defense. So, yeah, I mean, I would like to see more consistency and just, I have a lot of confidence in Beamer. And I guess this is kind of a quasi Beamer Bowl, even though Frank is not still there. But I do think that
it's a Beamer Bowl.
Say what?
It is a Beamer Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, and even Shane grew up around there, and he was talking about that a little bit on the SEC documentary. But I think all that said, like, yeah, just more consistency, right? Like, you can't have these big, these 3/4 swaths of games where you basically don't do anything on offense. You put the whole game on Sellers' back and say, hey, good luck. And I think that will be the case, especially against a Virginia Tech team that I'm not incredibly high on. I'm not saying that Virginia Tech couldn't find a way to get this done if South Carolina kind of goes through one of those games again where they're stagnant for 2.5 quarters, 3 quarters. But I do think that consistency is really important for South Carolina, and I think they'll be better with it this year.
Well, if Virginia Tech pulls it out, it's because what went right?
They found a way to contain Sellers. I mean, because obviously I have confidence in him throwing the ball, but really what makes him so dangerous is the fact that, yeah, you can cover me. I'll also run for 65 yards out of shotgun because I can. And just that sort of game-wrecking ability, we saw it in that LSU game last year, the Carolina play. We saw it in the Clemson game, like TJ brought up. If they're able to contain his explosiveness on the ground, I like Carolina's passing game, but I don't think it's as strong as their running game, at least not yet. So if Sellers is limited on the ground, I think at this point we can assume that Rasul Faison won't play. Maybe, I don't know anything. NCAA is a nightmare. But if they can contain Sellers on the ground, make Carolina a little more one-dimensional, I think that's how they stay in the game.
All right, TJ, ESPN's FBI has South Carolina with a 70.9% chance of winning. You think that's accurate, and what's your prediction?
Yeah, I think that sounds right. You play 10 times, they probably win 6 or 7 of them. So I think that's fairly accurate. Maybe 7's probably pretty good there. Yeah, I think Carolina wins this by like 10 or more. I could see it getting out of hand too. Again, I don't have a ton of confidence in Virginia Tech, but I could see this starting out a little slower, right? Where you are kind of conservative on both sides, let the other team make the mistake. Maybe that lets Virginia Tech hang around for a little bit longer, but yeah, I don't know, 27-17 South Carolina. I wouldn't be shocked because weird things happen in some of these matchups to start the year, but I really don't have a lot of confidence in Virginia Tech up front to be able to protect drones enough. I think South Carolina wins this somewhat comfortably.
All right. Well, what about you?
Yeah, I've got the same read, and the over-under's 50.5. I think they cover that going easily because, I think Carolina scores 35 or something in this game. When we talked about Kyron Drones, he's explosive enough where Tech's going to get theirs. So I think there'll be a lot of points scored in this one. And I think that Carolina is going to be able to win it by, 2 or 3 scores. I got Gamecocks in this one pretty comfortably.
All right. So next week when we pick our games, let's try and pick more controversial things so that we can all argue more. I also have South Carolina in this one.